All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing on a? I just pulled up the wrong thing. There we go. Hey, how's everyone doing on what I hope is a fantastic February the 18th? Shy is claiming I have no audio, and uh, I I'm prone to disbelief. I'm gonna choose to disbelieve that comment. I hear something coming from Jeff's side of things. And Jeff, he is here. He will be joining us soon. Oh, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm loving the outfit. It is to me like I don't know if this is going to come up in the episode or not, but the top hat and the outfit reminds me a lot um of the Doctor Who episode with Matt Smith.
I believe I am expected.
You might be, maybe by someone. Meanwhile, I'm over in my PJs. Like I have definitely decided just to relax this evening. I got my sweats on, and I definitely feel severely underdressed at this moment.
Who are you?
Uh, Jeff did not prepare me at all for this. Um, I am Matthew. How are you doing, sir? Sir?
How I am does not matter. It's why we are here that matters.
And
Who
why
are
are
you?
we here?
I believe we are here to watch some video stream.
I believe so. Yeah. This is Brainy Specs. I did not expect that. No one expected the Professor Inquisition.
I am called upon when I am needed and preserved when I am not. And I am called upon me now for this watch party.
This is great. Let's jump right into it. Because I am on the edge of my seat about where this episode is going. So thank you everyone, by the way, for bearing with me last week. I I had a meeting with my church. We're getting a new building set up, and I'm part of the team helping out and planning where all the equipment's going to go for our tech stuff. And Omni wants to know, can the hat fit over the headphones?
No, I have tried.
And yeah, so we had a meeting last Tuesday about that. We were scheduled to have one day, and I was able to convince them to do it yesterday, last night, so that I had this slot open for today. And we are watching Comes the Inquisitor, and there's something about the the phrase "Comes the Inquisitor" that makes me think of that old phrase, "Maketh the clothes, maketh the man," and Jeff is fully embodying that with his outfit today. Oh, excuse me. Who's Jeff? Very good point, Joel. Jeff is not with us, I don't think.
My name is Sebastian. I resided at 14B Harrisford Lane in London in the year of our Lord, 1888.
Oh, all right. And that was Sebastian. All right. So Sebastian, thank you so much for joining us in 2025.
You may not thank me when we are finished.
Well, I may not, but I certainly am thankful now. We are going to do this really fun thing called a watch party. I think that's why you're here, and we watch an episode of Babylon 5, ideally every week, at the very least every other week. And this week we're watching Comes the Inquisitor. And I don't know, the person I usually have with me is a delightful man named Jeff, and he may have had some notes on what I predicted would be in this episode. I don't suppose he left those for you.
Let me take a look. Londo is dealing with his guilt over what is going on. Everywhere he turns on the station, he will see the implications of the war and use of mass drivers on the Narn homeworld. At the end of the episode, he will have repentance moment. Discount Rod Sterling will appear and be the Inquisitor, repeating of a crossroad moment from season 1. At the end, Kefir will show up and save the day, defeating Rod Sterling with something he learned from hyperspace.
An excellent prediction, if I do say so myself. And Thomas, no, so the 14B, it did make me think Sherlock Holmes, but no, I'm well aware that Sherlock Holmes' address is 221B Baker Street. So I do know every once in a while I get something right, and that was one of those things up there that I actually have right. So we're gonna find out if I'm correct in my prediction this week or not. So the way this works, I can get my footing. We can do this. The way this works, everyone, is you can join us in the screening room. The link is pinned up there, and that will let you sync your watch time with our watch time. So we're always hopefully within a couple of seconds of each other on what we're seeing on screen. Beyond that, if you can't join us there, or maybe you only have a cell phone with you right now, you can only have this stream open, we got you covered. Once every 9-ish seconds, it's going to grab a still image from the show and show it in that area right down there. There will be no audio. There will only be a still image, so hopefully you have a reference for what it is that we're talking about at that moment. If you're here in the future, coming here from the past, maybe, I don't know, you're going to have your own copy of Babylon 5. And my best recommendation for that is to buy the physical media. Physical media reigns supreme, everyone. So you can buy the Blu-rays. They're on Amazon. You can try and find them somewhere else. Amazon usually has a decent enough deal on them. Otherwise, you can get them through digital streaming. There's free options, such as, I believe, Roku has it streaming right now, and Tubi TV. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch on Amazon Prime. So with that, we gotta jump into this episode. We absolutely have to see what's going on. But I got a little sinking suspicion based on my guest star for the week that I am not going to be entirely correct in my prediction for this week's episode.
Time will tell. It always does.
And Texas Anil Shook was asking if I brought the bracelets for Matthew. Oh, I don't like the sounds of this.
Spoilers.
All right, so let's go ahead and do this. I will give us a quick 3 countdown, and then if you are here in the future and you're watching on your own media, you can hit play at that time, and we will all be synced up. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hit that play button, everyone. And Omni wants to know if you brought a cane today, Sebastian.
It got left in the Vorlon ship.
And so 2 weeks ago, Jakar, the Narn were completely wiped out. Or not completely wiped, they're subjugated. The Centauri have completely dominated the Narn at this point. And now Jakar is a refugee on Babylon 5. And he is kind of doing a soapbox presentation talking about how the Centauri, they're not going to be appeased with just taking over the Narn space, that they're going to come for everyone next. And apparently this person with him is just asking Jakar to stop. You're embarrassing me. Please stop. But then he leans in and goes, "There's a meeting. Please come." And at the end of oh, and there's Veer. Veer, an individual that I believe is one of the most important people in the universe in Babylon 5. Perhaps if he had been there last week, he could have convinced Londo to relent. But at the end of last week, there was a newscast in which several reporters were wondering if the Centauri would truly stop. That they are already starting to take some of the lesser territories that were surrounding Narn space. And Kosh is telling Deloran that they have or Dolores that he is sent for the Inquisitor. And she says, how'll I know who it is? And Kosh responds that you will know if you survive.
Interesting phrasing, is it not?
I mean, Inquisitions were not exactly known for their levity in nature. And yes, Texas, that was very ominous. Are death threats illegal? Or are they freedom of speech? Kind of depends. Now, I didn't quite catch why Kosh was saying that he called for the Inquisitor. I believe he said he called the Inquisitor for Dolores.
Indeed, he did.
And yes,
He
Joel,
has
fear is the
doubts.
mind killer. What was that, Sebastian?
He has doubts.
Is Kiefer the Inquisitor? I don't think so, Omni. Now, when I saw the guest star was Wayne Alexander, I was initially very surprised, or excited, I should say, because I got the name wrong. And I thought it was going to be Jason Alexander, aka George from Seinfeld.
Indeed, you did get the name wrong.
And so, uh, Starkiller, he is wondering what's going on. He says, "Okay, so you're telling me that someone is coming, that they have business with you, and you want me to let them through, but you can't tell me more than that?" And Dolores is saying that Kosh has some doubts. And um, Lanier, he tries very diplomatically. Well, it's not that he has doubts; he just needs his confidence restored. And she, well, that's the same thing. Uh, and so, Ambassador Kosh wants confirmation that the right people are in the right place for the right time. And she's explained that Ambassador Kosh is concerned that what she has done is placed herself in the center of events, and he needs to have confirmation that she can withstand being the center of the storm. And so she says, please do not interfere. And they kind of have very gentle lighting, kind of like Kirk used to always have across his eyes during dramatic scenes. And so Jakar, he's meeting with an associate of um the Ferengi from the looks of things. And he's trying to ask for weaponry. And here's the problem. He said he can get the stuff, but it doesn't come cheap. And Jakar's resources are undoubtedly limited at this point in time. Omni's saying that this nerd doesn't strike him as a weapons dealer, but don't you hear the voice? You can tell by his voice that he's a shady kind of character. I'd feel bad if that was
I
just
believe he has laryngitis.
I was gonna say I'd feel bad if like that was just his normal voice. So he's willing to give Jakar 10% off. And he says, "Let me think about it." And the guy says, "Well, if I come back tomorrow, it's going to be full price, no discounts." And Jakar says that he'll deposit 50% of the cost into his account as a down payment. And so Jakar is giving him a stern warning, saying that the money for this purchase is being bought with the blood of those who had to suffer. And so if this individual was thinking about making off with the money or cheating him somehow, that Mr. Chase's body may someday be found, but it'll never be able to be identified with what little bit of is left. And yeah, Texas, Jakar apparently did not blink while giving that warning. And I'm assuming this is the Inquisitor's ship.
It was a Volon ship.
I noticed that, yeah. But I'm assuming the Inquisitor is on it.
We shall see.
I think so. I hear a clicking of a cane. I'm enjoying the moment they're giving, who I presume is Sebastian. Uh, Completely quiet except for the sound of his footsteps and cane. And when you look at that, it's Jeff. And you pull that off very well.
Thank you.
Like he honestly does resemble you a little bit. And so uh, Starkiller, he's trying to make polite conversation, saying, I didn't realize that outside Babylon 5 that the Vorlons had contact with humans. And Sebastian goes, I'm sure you didn't. And Tom's saying, I forgot something. And apparently this guy has actually been on the Vorlon homeworld. He's seen what they look like. Okay, so uh, good job with the speech, Sebastian.
Thank you.
But he explains that he is Sebastian from the year of our Lord 1888. That the Vorlon have been everywhere. They've seen everything, and um, that he is called upon when needed and preserved when not. So it's somewhat implying that he really is from 1888, and it's not that he is just, what would that be, 500 years old, but instead that he's kept in some sort of state of suspended animation until he's needed again. And Garibaldi is trying to warn off Jakar from what he's doing. Specifically, he doesn't want weapons coming through Babylon 5. And Jakar is willing to relent on this, and as a token of goodwill here, Garibaldi is giving him the information of a contact of someone else who, uh, you know, has a place right next to a jump gate who could allow anything to come through. And Garibaldi makes a comment of, Jakar, he's saying, you must have known where this conversation was going to go. He's like, yes, I make it a point of never starting a conversation that I don't know where it's going to go, but I always leave a little room for someone to disappoint me. Thanks for not disappointing me. So Jakar, by being willing to not have the weapons come on the station, has gotten a much better setup for getting the weapons back to his homeworld. Now, Omni is saying, was it Gray 19 or Gray 17? You are asking the wrong guy.
It is gray 19, but it is near gray 17.
Sheridan, that's his name. I have been struggling this whole stream trying to remember Sheridan's name. I appreciate the lighting, very reminiscent of the Grey Council.
Good catch, Life with Matthew.
And so something about these bracelets, they're made specifically for her, and at any point she can take them off, but to do so is to admit that she is not up to the task. Ah. And so, who are you? And she mispronounces her name as Delin, uh, but he says an unacceptable answer. And he repeats the question, "Who are you?" And she says, "Delin." And he taps his cane, and she gets electrocuted, or a pain of some sort. And he says, "If you repeat an unacceptable answer, then you will receive discipline or punishment." So she says, "Well, I'm the ambassador." And she says, "That's an unacceptable answer. That's merely a title." And she's not getting the point of the question. I appreciate what he's really getting for here. Hey, LDG, how you doing? Uh, I mean, she is literally stripped away the core of who she is to create this bridge uh, between her race and humanity. And really, the question of who she is at the core of what she's been going through this season. Who is she? And he's saying, "Do you know how many have stood before you as you stand before me now? People who are proud and defiant, people who thought they were special or favored of God." And he says that all of them have broken before him. And he's saying that you have the audacity to assume you're on a mission from God. And he said, "I don't believe it." He says, "And by the time I leave here, neither will you." And yes, LDG, the professor or Sebastian's outfit is spot on. But why wouldn't it be? This is Sebastian. It's his outfit.
I appreciate that, LDG.
And so we'll see how his character develops, but he has almost like a perverse pleasure in taking people down. It's almost as if he himself doesn't believe in the very task that he's been assigned to do. He's he's talking about how at any point she can take off the shackles and she'll be spared. But to do that would be to admit that you are not the chosen one, and so it is your very pride that will keep you in those shackles until she eventually dies, because she must exist upon the belief that the universe will somehow intervene and prevent her from being killed.
This is a great scene.
It's a great lead up. They haven't set anything up, and it's great. So so Veer, not paying attention, gets onto the elevator, and who should be in there but Jakar? And he finally sees him and is clearly uncomfortable. Good for Veer. He says, "I'm sorry." He says, I wish there was something that I could do." He says, if only they would listen, but they never listen. And then, "I'm sorry." And Jakar pulls out his knife and cuts his hand. And just starts saying, "Dead, dead, 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 dead." And how do you apologize to them, the dead? And Veers, he says, how do you apologize to them? And Leonard says, I can't. And Jakar says, then I cannot forgive. Like on their behalf. Sorry, it's a good scene, and it's hard to talk over it because any summary I'm giving is not doing justice to what they're doing. And he's telling her to call out to the universe because surely it will respond. So let's see if the universe responds, and there's silence. And I can't help but hope at some point Sheridan shows up and puts him in his place to speak on behalf of the universe, basically. So they're going through some basic philosophy stuff, and and she gave the right answer. So he was asking, "Why are you here? Why are you here now?" And she says, "Because I was meant to be." And um, he's really probing into, is she proud or is she faithful? And she finally gives a response indicating that she's not just being prideful and, oh, I'm so special, I'm so amazing that I have to be here right now. But instead of, she's demonstrating that she is faithfully doing whatever task that comes before her, and it has led her to this point. And so she has faith that because she's been brought to this point, she's here for a purpose, and she's willing to do whatever that purpose is. Hey, Roberts, it's hard to tell when a Vorlon is winking and when a Vorlon is blinking.
It is difficult to know what a Vorlon is doing at any time.
Jakar is trying to drum up a resistance cell. Um, and they're kind of they're questioning his ability, and they're making a bit of a false dichotomy argument. They're saying either you have the ability to lead us, and you will prove it by being able to get communication established to our families on Narn homeworld, or you don't have the ability to lead us by not being able to do this one specific task. So he accuses her of being a fool, and she says it's better to be a fool than to be what you are. And she says that you are a creature who has been given pain and gives pain. And she says that your core issue is that you don't believe that you are you see yourself as small and weak, and so you lash out at those who believe them to be not small or weak. And he doesn't like that answer, surprisingly. Yeah, Texas. It does seem like she hit the nail on the head a little bit there. It's a dangerous thing when weak men get power. No offense.
None taken.
But there's also, I also holding out hope that if he has been picked out by the Kosh, or by the Vorlons, that he's not just some some cruel Spanish Inquisitor type stereotype, but that he is specifically putting on a persona to test the sincerity of Dolores. so so Sheridan, Jakar comes and he's asking Sheridan for a favor of getting in contact with the family so he can solidify his leadership. And uh, and so Sheridan asks Garibaldi, well, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Oh, I think he's in trouble." He's like, "No, what do you think about using the Rangers?" So Lanier has come to save her, more or less, but she's telling him he has to go. He just keeps asking the same question over and over again. It makes no sense. And eventually she's gonna get it. And, or maybe she won't. Maybe it's gonna be Sheridan here who answers the question of who she is sufficiently. Yeah, Kay Roberts, you are to know pain. And then you shall have pie, though I think that's a typo. And he says, uh, your fate was decided long ago. It's all in the hands of others. And so the final player in our little drama arrives at last. And Sebastian says, what is she to you? And he goes, I don't have to answer your questions. And he says, no, you don't. And then shoots a fireball at him. Impressive. I'm sure this rescue went a lot differently in his head. Yeah, okay, Roberts. There was a commercial break there. So he's asking a good question here. He's asking, what about your friends? Are you willing to sacrifice them? And hopefully he answers, no, I'm not willing to sacrifice any of them. That's a pointless thing. That that his friends can make choices, and that those choices might be uh, result in someone's death, but that doesn't mean you sacrifice them. A sacrifice is more like a pawn thing. Like, oh, I don't. I'm gonna sacrifice this pawn for the greater good. It's a much different mindset than, hey, I as your friend am doing this and accepting the consequences of those actions. And so she's saying that this is my cause. That one life or a billion life is all the same. It's what my cause is. My cause is life. And she says that my body is just a shell. You cannot touch me. You cannot harm me. I'm not afraid. And that was the right answer. And so he says, how do you know the chosen ones? He goes, no greater love has a man and that he lays down his life for another, which is a passage in Matthew, I believe. And he describes himself as Diogenes with his lamp, which is a reference to Greek myth. He says, but know this, you are the right people in the right place at the right time. And he was making a point of saying that the thing that makes them important is that they're not just willing to lay down their lives for each other, but they're willing to do so in a place and a time where they would be completely forgotten, totally unremembered. No glory, no fame, just truly caring about someone else.
Texas is right. Diogenes was the original cynic, Greek philosopher.
And thankfully, Sheridan has a better memory than I do. He wants to look up a name and an address.
I would have reminded you.
And he after some struggling, he remembers the address is 14B Harrison Lane in 1888.
Harrisford Lane.
Ford Lane. See, I can even get. I would have had Ivanova going down a rabbit trail. Meanwhile, Jakar, he was able uh, through Sheridan's connections with the Rangers, get a message back. So they're willing to accept him as a leader.
Quite
And
an
Josh,
interesting scene coming up.
Josh is saying the last time Professor Sebastian was on Earth, something very big happened in London. 1888. Was that the fire?
Not the fire.
Oh. Oh.
Does it ring a bell? Life with Matthew.
It does. There may be another nom de plume he's known by. And so he's basically admitting that he believed that he was all the things that he now decries others for. That's true, Joel. I didn't know Jack. He was found by the Vorlons and shown the terrible depths of his mistake. That he believed that he was right and the world was wrong. And so he says that he's done 400 years of penance. And says now perhaps the Vorlons will finally let him die. And he said he hopes that Sheridan fares better in his mission than he did in his. That the world remembers him not as a prophet, not as a hero, uh, not as several other things. It's not even as Sebastian, only as Jack.
Jack.
Well, that was fantastic.
And K. Roberts says, only remembered as Kefir.
Jack Kefir? Jack the Kefir?
I'm not sure how that fits in, but...
So, what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, let me explain why I'm dressed up like this. So many people claim that I look like Wayne Alexander, who played Sebastian in this story.
I see.
So, do you?
I now.
I don't.
To be fair,
I really don't. I really don't. But
you leaned into it in the outfit.
Well, yeah.
So had you been dressed as normal, I don't think maybe I would have quite jumped there. But you primed the pump, and it definitely. I definitely saw the semblance with the outfit here.
Well, you know, I play a role a little bit like Sebastian, dressed up like this. So, you know, I can see that. But I don't think I look like him in normal clothing and acting normally. And
I don't know. I don't know. You maybe.
Nah. Okay. I don't see it. This was a very powerful episode. Great acting. They got a great actor in Wayne Alexander to play Sebastian. And little spoiler, we're going to see Wayne Alexander again, but not in this role. He plays several roles in Babylon 5, and he's great at every role he does on the show. I'm not going to tell you what those roles are. You're going to have to wait and find out. Maybe I'll have to point out, hey, do you remember Wayne Alexander? That's him. So, yeah, not the guy from Seinfeld, Thomas.
Yeah, you know, I love Jason Alexander, but I don't think he would have had the gravitas to pull off this role.
So I think this was not a test to see if Dolores is the right person. I really think it was to get her in the right frame of mind. That's my opinion. That's how I read this episode. And Sheridan comes in at the end and he proves to himself that he's in the right place, the right time, the right person for this war that's coming, the darkness that's approaching. I don't know how you read it.
I'm going to have to watch it again, but I definitely get the feeling that he was going on his way to goad them. That not everything he said reflected the full extent of his beliefs, that he was hamming it up, so to speak, at certain points in order to break them down, to truly test them.
And
Uh,
Omni disagrees with me. He thinks that Dolores, I think he means, would have been or could have been killed if she didn't get the right answers. I don't get that impression on me. I think he was pushing her into the right frame of mind. I don't think he would have killed her.
he has killed people in the past, though. Well, I mean, obviously, he's Jack, but
Well, yeah.
after becoming the Vorlon's Inquisitor, and to answer someone's question earlier, no, I did not expect the Vorlon Inquisition. No one expects the Vorlon Inquisition. But as his role as the Inquisitor, he's killed people. I got the feeling like it's not just that he tests them and they fail, or if they fail they go home in disgrace, and if they succeed, yay. Well, no one ever succeeded, so there were no yays. But I definitely got the feeling that some people, in their pride, were unwilling to admit that they weren't the chosen one, and as a result, died.
Well, I kind of look at this. You look back a season ago, at the end of season 1, Dolores sends Lanier to ask Kosh a question, and she gets the response back. And I don't think he would have given that response at that point, that exact response, if he wasn't sure that Dolores was the right person. I think the doubt comes in from him that she believes that she is fully on board, that she is the right person, especially with everything that's been happening in season 2 to her.
And to be fair, that was kind of Lanier's point.
Exactly.
That he didn't have doubt, he wanted confirmation. And
yes,
to go one step beyond that, I think it would be fair to say that the confirmation, like you're saying, wasn't on Kosh's part, but getting Delenn to have the confirmation about herself.
Omni makes a good point. She only asked if the ancient enemy returned. That's true, but if Kosh wasn't certain about Dolores, I don't think he would have said anything. I think he would have ignored Lanier. I think he would have just sent him away or whatever, because he knew what she would do if he answered the way he did.
And
so at that point, I think he was certain.
And I think that interpretation that you're putting forth, Jeff, really fits the motif of what she's been going through this season.
Exactly.
Where she has surrendered it, and then, you know, she almost did have this expectation that she'd be welcomed with open arms as the promised Messiah, as it were. And she's been kind of having to deal with the fact that she's been getting increasing amounts of pushback from the people that she kind of thought would be heralding her as a hero for dividing the bridge. Instead, I mean, first you had the interaction with the Imbari, who's like, I only talk to Imbari, and I don't know what you are anymore. She got
that's right
kicked off the Grey Council, and so just step by step, she's becoming increasingly isolated. And only here at the end, she's starting to develop this relationship with Sheridan. And so I think the entire focus of the questioning was that very first question, who are you? And getting her to really understand she's not a prophet. She's not the Messiah. She's just herself.
Right. And she would lay down her life for anyone. She doesn't have to be the one to carry out, you know, the cause. Anybody can pick up, or not anyone, but someone would pick up after her if she fell. And then somebody would pick up that person if they fell.
Because that was one of the things she said. She was laying down her life, said, "No, take me. Your quarrel is with me, so take me instead." And he said, "What about your calling?" And her response was, "If I fall, someone else will take my place, and if they fall, someone else will take their place." Which I think
she understands.
Really, yeah.
Maybe she didn't fully understand it herself until that moment, this Inquisition took place. Omni has a good point. He thinks that Kosh believes in Dolores, but the other Vorlons may not. Hence, the Vorlons sent the Inquisitor. Maybe Kosh was not on board exactly with it, but he went along with it. I don't know. And hello, John.
Hello, John. Well, I was definitely not right in my prediction, by the way.
No, you weren't even close. Londo wasn't even in the episode, and you thought it was going to be a Londo-centric episode.
I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like that was a very deliberate choice in this episode. The way that they were talking, or the way that Veer was talking when he got on the elevator, it makes it sound like Londo has gone into seclusion. I got the feeling that Londo was not entirely satisfied with the way things have turned out and is drawing back some.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. You could be right about that.
Well, we'll have to find out hopefully next week.
Maybe. Now, there was a fluff at the end when Sheridan was talking to Sebastian about the historical records that they found. You could actually see what he was saying. His lips were saying West End of London when it was actually East End, and they dubbed it in later. But when it was first played, which was actually in the UK, it hadn't been dubbed yet. Yeah. So that was a boo-boo.
I do like the reveal because once they revealed it, all the acting he had done prior to that just fit the idea of Jack the Ripper so well. Where you're like, yes, if I hadn't made a mental image for what I would expect Jack the Ripper to be like, but as soon as he put down that last little piece, it's like, yes, this is exactly how I would expect someone to portray Jack the Ripper. Or specifically if he was of the mindset that he was on a holy mission and that he was being called to a higher purpose.
Now, some people picked up right away when he first came on the station and they were looking down at people. He said, and I just lost it. He was talking about nothing changes, corruption, immorality, chaos. And his gaze was toward a woman that was walking around. So a lot of people picked up right then and there who he was right at the beginning of the episode.
Hats off to them. Well done.
And first time I watched the episode, I wondered myself, is this supposed to be Jack the Ripper?
If I had better knowledge,
I wasn't certain, but
like if I had made the connection between 1888 and hey, here's this guy who's really lingering not just on any woman, but the woman with a very low cut dress or a low cut top. I may have been able to make that. As it was, I thought he was just being a little bit weird, because the next following statement from Sheridan was something along the lines of like, how long has it been since you've been back at Earth? Like maybe he noticed the lingering gaze as well and was like, hey buddy, you're cool your jets a little bit there.
Right. This is not the first time we've had a Jack the Ripper reference on Babylon 5. In Mind War from season 1, Ivanova accuses the Psy Corps of having end quotes, all the moral fiber of Jack the Ripper.
Okay. K. Roberts is saying
And
that Jack was one of the earliest studies in criminal psychology, part of JMS's education. Are you
yeah,
talking
I
about?
had read that.
Are we talking about JMS the creator, or JMS like some
J.
college?
Michael Straczynski.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure, like, oh no, man, I'm not talking about John Michael. I was just mean like, oh yeah, there's this JMS college, and part of their
Oh,
education is
no.
criminal psychology.
John's right. If he said he was from Rigel 4, then it would have been a dead giveaway. Of course, referencing Star Trek there.
So, I mean, in terms
The
of things
scene,
that happen in this, go ahead.
the scene in the elevator between Veer and Jakar, that was just so powerful. It's as powerful, I think, as any of the Jack and Dolores scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder what will come of that.
I do like how the episode began with Fear standing up on the promenade watching Jakar.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly being disturbed not by what Jakar was saying, but like the reality of what had been done to the Narn. Like he wasn't just being like, I'm so sorry because I'm alone on an elevator with someone who could easily kill me. Like he was clearly saying sorry because he was genuinely remorseful about the fact that he hasn't been able to prevent Londo from going down this path.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it was just a very powerful scene. Sebastian is kind of the Vorlon version of Cheap Rod Sterling, I think.
Yeah. I'd say so.
And they both have a catchphrase question.
Yes.
Rod Sterling says, "What do you want?" And Sebastian asks, "Who are you?"
I also like how it's very much they are very representative in the way they ask the question of kind of the idea of good and evil. So discount Rod Sterling, the way he asks it is very much the way of the devil striking a deal. Like, what do you want? You know, I can give you what you want. Right. Whereas Sebastian was, coming in judgmental, like, this is righteousness, this is the true path. You're going to answer the question, who are you? Which, I mean, speaking of kind of some religious undertones there, he makes the comments that the Vorlons have been everywhere. The Vorlons are just to be are. Yeah. Which is very much when Moses was before God in Exodus 3, and he says, well, if the people ask me who sent me, what am I going to tell them? And God's response is, tell them that I am sent you. And that was his proper name that the Jewish people always misspell on purpose because they feel like even to spell it correctly is taking it in vain and not showing him respect. That present to be verb. And I got the feeling that that was a deliberate kind of linking there.
I'm sure it was. Ervik loves your Daffy Duck on the screen.
Thank you. I added that a couple weeks ago in honor of Garibaldi.
So I what I get from this episode is this episode solidifies Dolores and Sheridan to get them ready, to put them in the right mindset for this task that's before them, with the darkness coming, the Great War coming. They are now in the mindset that they are the people that should be there. And that's what Sebastian says at the end.
Which I think is going to come up next week, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Is this prediction time?
Let's make it prediction time, because I feel like that's a great point, and I've been looking at the name of next week's episode. It's The Fall of Night, and none of the episode titles are coincidental, but that one especially does not feel coincidental to me. This is the end of the season, right? Yep. Yes, yep. That is the end of the season. And I definitely think that we are going to end this season on very much a down note. I mean, season 1 ended on a bit of a down note. I think this is going to double down on the down. Yeah, that works. They're going to double down on the down. And that we are going to see... It's too soon for the shadow creatures to make a direct appearance, I feel like. And I'm going to resist the temptation to see what the season 3 episode 1 title is, because I feel like that'd be a little bit cheating. But I think that what we're going to see is that because of Londo's actions, the stage has been set for not the shadow spiders to make a personal appearance, but for their presence to ratchet up and kind of have a falling out of the nations. That we're going to see the Narn are already pretty much out of it. We're going to see the Centauri make their move. They've been saying that they're not going to press on and be expansionist, but I think we're going to see that the Centauri make their move next week, and it's going to plunge the universe into a state of disarray. And I think a great way of doing that, I don't know if they're going to, but I think a great way of doing that would be through the weapons that the shadow spiders use that cause a destabilization of the jump gates, and having a situation where Babylon 5 is all of a sudden cut off from the rest of the universe.
Ooh, I like how you're thinking.
Yeah, so I could see that being the Fall of Night, that they are alone. The Centauri are now at war with at least humanity, if not everyone. And it's going to be left off at a very low moment where after this episode is kind of on a positive note that you're the right people in the right place at the right time. I think that come next week, there's going to be a lot of questioning of that, where things are going to be looking like, hey, he said this, but we must have messed up. Things went really bad. Are they really the right people? And I think that comment today will give them confidence, but we're still going to see some doubt. Yeah, K. Roberts. Nice shark. Pretty shark.
Well, if your prediction's right, that sounds like an exciting episode. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I had the back-to-back pretty spot on predictions for episode 19 and 20. I completely missed 21.
Well, you can't win them all.
Can't win them all. That's right. But
Thomas is already predicting that you're wrong.
Well, that might be a good prediction. We'll find out.
But he says that every week, so
Oh yes, thank you, K. Roberts, and then Kiefer shows up to save the day. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, gotta put that in.
But in terms of kind of thoughts about this episode, I loved it. it's interesting how this episode, whoops, sorry. This episode, I don't feel like it did much per se. And yet at the same time, it was massively important.
It was a great character piece. Yeah, like you said, there wasn't a lot of action to it, but we learn about the characters. And sometimes that's more interesting than space battles.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's what made TNG such a great series for me. Like that's why it withstands the test of time for me. I love Deep Space Nine. Voyager is the one I grew up with the most, and so it holds a special place in my heart. But TNG is the one that really holds up the test of time, where each and every episode you have sci-fi stuff happening, but it's just a backdrop for the human element as you explore these issues. And so episodes like that always work well with me. Like the episode we got today. We didn't have to have a lot going on for a lot to be going on.
Thomas says Voyager's so special to him, he never finished those reviews.
Yeah, so that's a classic ADHD trait. Sorry about that. Um, and at this rate, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to finish those reviews.
Oh,
No,
just ruined my life.
I know. I'm so
not
sorry.
going to finish those Voyager reviews. What am I going to do?
I got my life together and stop being a bum. I'm so sorry. And hey, Curtis, how you doing? Am I streaming over Gorillas? I apologize, Gorillas. I did not know that.
Omni wants to know, did you review Nightingale? I don't think he made it that far, Omni.
Yeah, I definitely did. Part of the reason I stalled out is I'm pretty sure the next episode is Elogium. I will put that episode below season 1 TNG. Episode 1, season 1 TNG. And you guys know how much I hate episode 1, season 1 TNG, the pilot. But Elogium is even worse. Oh my goodness, it's even worse. I know, Josh. I made it to season 2. What's that?
This court should get down on its knees to what Starfleet represents.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, at least I'm not trying to finish a Borg series. Exactly. It's not taking me that long yet.
John says you have to review Nightingale, even if you don't do any other Voyager episodes.
Maybe so. Maybe I'll try. My last video was Learning Curve. Okay. I'll take Threshold over Elogium. I think one of the worst things they did was making Cass and Neelix a romantic pairing.
They kind of were from the beginning.
Yes, and I think it was a horrible choice.
I can see why.
I think if they had kept him more of the like the pilot we got in the Pitcher Plant episode, the one with John Morgan.
Yeah,
if he had been more that character, where instead of it being a romantic interest, he was a father figure toward Cass, it would have been such a better interaction between him and Cass.
Omni says W. Morgan Shepherd.
Yes. Some fool didn't add. Oh, did I not add them to the Voyager playlist? I'll fix that. I'll make sure that they're all on there.
To know him is to love him is to know him.
But it's
thanks, John.
It's always weird to me too, because they talk about all the different things Neelix did. He was in the war, but then they made him a a coward. And then he was a scavenger. He worked on an elevator. Like, they made him to be an old character, but then they also made him a young character. Like, it's weird. I'll try and explain it. When I sit down and write it out, like the way it is in my head, it's weird.
No, I can see where you're going with that. He has so many talents, but they play him off as a youngish character at times too. I mean,
yeah,
almost like he's
beginning.
Yeah, almost like he's the Doctor in a way. An old character, but he acts young.
Right. Or
but there's an in-universe explanation for the Doctor where there really isn't for. And when I say the Doctor, I meant Doctor Who, not the EMH Doctor.
Right. Yeah, because the EMH Doctor, he looks old.
Yeah, he does. He does. No, Omni, not Dr. Franklin, who we didn't see this week.
That's true. Is it weird that the Doctor is going to be in the newest Trek series of Starfleet Academy? No, not at all. We'll see how that goes.
I'm not expecting much of anything.
Well, I mean, after the most amazing Section 31 movie, my expectations are through the roof.
What are the Rotten Tomato ratings? Like 18 and 16% or something?
Yeah, even the even the reviewers were like, yeah, we cannot we can't give this one a go.
Right.
Let's see. Now you got me wondering. It is, yeah, you were spot on. 17% and 16%.
I was close. I was one off.
Yeah, it was rough. My goodness, it was rough. And it, bless her heart, she's getting older, and it's getting harder and harder to accept her as a swashbuckling kung fu master individual. Like I feel like there's a reason why traditionally in the how to pronounce it, wushui, the martial arts movie, whenever you get to be a certain age, they always have them like overwhelm the opponent, doing as little motion as possible, instead of like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a 5-minute long chase scene where we're constantly jumping over stuff and battling. It's like, no, he's going to stand in one spot, and he's just going to be so powerful that his slow movements defeat the young upcoming star. Did I ignore you, gorillas? I apologize.
Welcome, gorilla.
Where did I ignore you? I accepted as truth, for the record. I'm just trying to see where I ignored you.
Honestly, I didn't see him before that comment, so he might be pulling your leg.
He might be, or I really ignored him, and that's just how bad it was.
Well, that's possible too. And I apologize, girl, if I didn't see you earlier.
I forgot how we got on this subject, but the point is tonight's episode was great.
Very good, very good. At last, my job is finished. You can go. You've passed. My job is finished. Yours is just beginning. You are the right person, Life with Matthew, in the right place, at the right time. Good luck to you in your holy cause.
Thank you, and good luck to all y'all, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos.
And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.